On the morning of March 30th, 2026, the digital backbone of the Argentine Republic simply collapsed. A threat group operating under the name Chronus team executed a highly coordinated, multi-layered cyber attack, simultaneously severing access to 28 distinct government and financial institutions. This graphic is the official announcement published by the hackers. It outlines the exact scope of the breach. Over 8 million highly sensitive records pulled from the central bank, provincial health ministries, and executive branch coordination logs. The bottom message translates, "This mega leak is one coming in Argentina." By publicly posting their manifests, the attackers demonstrated a complete lack of state security, signaling they already had long-term persistence within the government's networks. You would expect an immediate, high-alert national address. Instead, the Argentine government initiated a complete media blackout. Authorities issued vague public relations statements, aggressively downplaying the intrusion to protect their own political image. By defaulting to a state of manufactured calm, the government prioritized its political image over immediate digital safety. They chose to preserve the illusion of a functional system, while the actual foundation was already gone, leaving millions of citizens entirely in the dark about their compromised identities. Desperate for answers during that blackout, the public turned to decentralized platforms. Users flooded X and Reddit, seeking out independent analysts like the user Analyzer to figure out if their private medical files or state payroll details had been dumped online. The reaction in these forums was defined by a heavy, practiced cynicism. After a decade marked by the Rene Per leak of the entire population's data in 2021 and the massive Revel hit on telecom, these catastrophic breaches have lost their shock value. For many, they are now an expected, albeit exhausting, cost of living. This chart tracks the top trending topics in Argentina for the day of the attack. Despite the exposure of core state infrastructure, the Chronus team hack ranked 4th in raw search and interaction volume. The public's attention was entirely hijacked by two highly visceral events. The number one topic was a tragic school shooting in the province of Santa Fe. Right beneath it, at number 2, millions of interactions were driven by the anticipation of a national football match featuring Lionel Messi. A nation's digital infrastructure can collapse in plain sight, but if the public's attention economy is already saturated by physical tragedy and cultural escapism, that collapse will fail to trigger any national alarm. Into the total silence left by the government stepped Alberto Daniel Hill. As a world-renowned cybersecurity and forensics expert, Hill effectively became the de facto pulse of the crisis, operating outside official channels to track the hackers' movements. This is a threat intelligence flash that Hill published weeks before the attack. He had been monitoring decentralized audio rooms on X, intercepted the hackers explicitly discussing their timeline, and tried to warn the state. The government ignored him. Hill posted these forensic breakdowns on social media. This manifest details the leak of the IOMA health database, proving 2.1 million citizens had their highly specific health records exposed, providing exact indicators of compromise the authorities refused to acknowledge. This is where the state's internal hierarchy becomes its own worst enemy. Because Hill exists outside the official security apparatus, his intelligence was discarded. The government essentially decided that a truth delivered by an outsider was less valuable than a lie maintained by an institution. The crisis took a surreal turn when the Chronus team decided to bypass traditional diplomatic backchannels entirely. The attackers simply logged into X and entered a live public audio space hosted by Hill himself. Hill handed them the microphone. For 10 minutes, the threat actors engaged in a calm, highly detailed dialogue, providing an honest technical assessment of the specific flaws causing the digital infrastructure in the Southern Cone to collapse. That live broadcast sent shockwaves through the regional underground. Hackers from Mexico to Uruguay listened in real time, validating the threat and verifying the stolen data, all while official government channels maintained absolute radio silence. We have entered an era of performative cyber warfare. Criminal syndicates now leverage the attention economy to host public technical briefings, providing far more transparency to citizens than the sovereign governments they are attacking. While this digital crisis tore through South America, the reaction on the global stage was entirely different. There was absolute silence from mainstream Western media. Outlets like the BBC, Reuters, and the New York Times published almost nothing about the systemic compromise of Argentina's national data. The root cause of this blackout lies in how global media functions. Major news desks rely heavily on official state declarations to verify events. Because the Argentine government refused to issue a press release acknowledging the hack, the story had no official anchor. In a hyper-connected world, a massive national crisis can still be effectively erased from the global narrative. Geographic bias and an absolute reliance on filtered official truth kept the rest of the world completely blind to the attack. International cybersecurity experts view the events of March 30 as a cold, structural evolution in digital insurgency. The traditional profit-driven ransom model has been replaced by a campaign designed for institutional sabotage. This diagram illustrates a concept known as the bifurcated threat. Modern cyber attacks split into two distinct prongs. On one side, you have the quiet, sophisticated theft of state-level data. On the other, a loud, decentralized public psychological operation. The hacker's true objective is to deliberately erode public trust. By attacking highly visible, sensitive targets and broadcasting their success, they force citizens to realize that the state is incapable of protecting them. Analysts warn of a severe future risk. If these threat actors shift their focus from administrative state records to critical physical infrastructure, like the massive Vaca Muerta energy and petroleum fields, the damage moves from digital inconvenience to physical disruption. The real danger of modern cyber warfare is the isolation it creates. Criminals can steal your most private data, your government will actively cover it up, your neighbors will be distracted by the daily news cycle, and the rest of the world will simply look away.